Lady Liberty 2.0.
Things have definitely changed dramatically. Brand new remodel here.
Yeah.
Just got done. How long ago?
Let's see. It was like about a week, a little more than a week ago.
Okay.
I think. I mean, technically, there's still tiny things that I know that need to be done in here still, but to the public and client eye, it's either wow, or they don't even notice.
Yeah, I caught a guy the other day and just walked in.
Dude, today is like,
oh,
what'd you change?
Everything.
Oh man, we did not touch nothing. So yeah, we had our hands on just about everything in here.
Yeah.
Well, I love it.
You had mentioned that people have been asking kind of what like kickstarted the remodel, where the idea came from.
Yeah, I think it's almost kind of coming to people like, well, why did you remodel? And that's cool because that means that there wasn't necessarily anything wrong with it before, at least according to our client's point of view.
Right.
But having been in here for almost 8 years now, I started to see like the things. And the first thing that started bugging me was the floor. The floor that we had laid. When it came down to like picking floor, the landlord's like, Charles, you got to do vinyl. And I'm like, that sounds expensive.
Yeah.
And hard. But it wouldn't have been. It would have actually been about the same price. So I went the less costly alternative when we opened. And just over the years, you could start to see its age starting to wear. And I didn't want it to become a health department issue. So I'm like, okay, it's time to do the floor. And that was all I was thinking about doing. I was lucky enough to end up tattooing this dude who was a floor installer. And I'm like, do you want to trade labor? So I traded him tattoo time like probably well over a year ago. I'm like, yeah, whenever I can afford the floor, I'll hit you up for it too. I'll cash that check. So the time came and he put me in contact with his flooring supplier and went in, picked it out, almost knew right away like what I wanted. And actually brought samples back and we all unanimously voted on this. So with that, now we've got a vinyl floor. I don't ever have to worry about water because anytime I'd see people come in with snow or something, I'm like inside dying.
Yeah.
Like, man, the floor's going to bubble. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
And then I got to get my dream of having it installed at a 45-degree angle. So I'm stoked. I freaking love it. I look at it all the time, over the last couple of weeks. I'm like, dude, I love this so much.
Yeah, it looks great.
So that's what started it. And then one thing just led to another.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How did like the rest develop? Because I know for me, it was like, hey, we're going to replace the floor. And then it just, it looked out beautiful, but it turned to a whole facelift.
Yeah, it just snowballed. Well, so then, the other thing, I'm like, well, I wonder if we should just, there were two other things that I would have had it in the back of my mind. And that was painting the ceiling, of which, when we moved in initially and I had to pick the ceiling tiles, I'm like, I want to paint the ceiling. And again, landlord, Charles, you better go to a thicker ceiling tile so that it could support the weight of the paint. And so I did. But we never painted the ceiling because I think that was a time issue. We just kind of ran out of time.
Yeah.
And so left it white office looking for 7 years. Thankfully, Anna's husband is a professional painter, and he came in and he did like the first layer, first coat in no time.
Yeah,
it was. And so he came in, did all the hard work of doing that. And then, I was like, one thing I'd really love to do is do better baseboard trim, do something chunkier, make it look a little bit more, I guess, elegant or just royal look. I don't even know the right word, but in the lobby area, we had done like wood trim, and I didn't know. But before we opened and before we got inspected for the first time, I'm like, I better play it safe and do like that rubber trim.
Just for the health department?
Yeah. And turns out they never even look at that stuff. So I'm like, sweet. They're going to do trim all throughout. Yeah, dude. I was staining wood for months prior to our remodel.
Getting ready.
There were 32, somewhere around there, 32 6-foot boards that I stained. And that was before you came on and helped. That was just the main baseboard. And dude, I got so sick of staining wood. But whenever it came time to doing all the other stuff, it got easier. That required less work than the main baseboard trim. So those were the main things. And then, it was just like, well, since the dude initially said in the flooring, he's like, it'll take about a week. Like, all right, well, that sounds like a lot of time. So we may as well do other things if we're going to be shut down. But actually only took him 2 days. So we made a lot of like really good time in it.
Awesome.
So that's what spurred it all.
What was like, did you have a couple things that you were like, for sure, we're going to do this? Like once, like obviously desk move over here, were these kind of visions you had previously? No. Or was it just kind of freestyling as you went along?
Yeah. I kept adding to the wish list.
And
then I asked my wife, I'm like, what do you, because she loves like redecorating and she has been wanting to have a project. So she's like, can I do the shop? I'm like, yep.
She did a great job.
I'm like, I know for sure I want the flooring done, the ceiling painted, and new trim. Everything else, I'll be fine with. And so, it was her idea to like move the desk over there, which I totally love.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm like, dang, why didn't we think of that? And so everything just almost got like moved to a new home or got repurposed.
Every time I come in here, I notice a new detail that she did with like the little decorations and stuff, and it looks fabulous.
I think, we together collaborated on, because we both love like the Victorian era, so we're always looking at Victorian houses, and I wanted to do for sure, like one development was like, well, I'll just do this wall trim. I think that'll look cool. And then why don't we just paint the lower half of that, the dark brown, to take that all the way through the shop? And then my wife and I like collaborated on these panels.
Yeah, those look wonderful.
And I just wanted the wood part. And then she took it way further and like, well, let's do this leather stuff or something behind it and do like a wall sconce. And so it just kept, we just kept going. And kind of got to where we are now. And so, I still too, I'm like, I look around, like, I'm so glad we did that. Or I'm like, this just looks like a living room now. Even more. And I love it.
I think honestly up there, just like, it's my favorite part.
Agreed. I feel the same way too. Like, couch and all the knickknacks and I'm just like, what can people sit down and look at and just kind of get lost in while nobody's ever really waiting around here, but if somebody brings a partner or something like that, then at least they got something to look at. Chill out and hang out.
Did you guys face any like challenges or anything, or did it all kind of go smooth for you?
Super grateful that everything went smoother than expected. Again, way long ago, the flooring guys, hey, I'd probably take like a week, but whenever it came closer to actually doing, he's like, I probably just need 3 days, Thursday through Saturday. Well, he was done Friday. And so I'm like, what? Which then that got the ceiling prep done a day early.
And done early Friday too, because it was like the morning when I met up with you and we came over
exactly. That's true. And then that allowed me to kind of start sneaking in here and doing trim. So everything was going great until I started laying the baseboard trim. Literally like the first piece was like this far away from the wall.
Oh no.
I'm like, here we go. So no wall is perfect. Just so happens that the ones that we built are very imperfect, but I managed to when I laid the initial board,
Mm-hmm.
I hated so much of it. I'm like, this is where I'm gonna start hating it all.
Yeah.
But then I added the little foot piece and then the top piece. I'm like, okay, now I can live with that.
Yeah.
And there's just little things that us living in here day to day we see, but it's like, oh, I forgot there's gonna be a toolbox in front of that part.
And
so
honestly, going with like just that older vibe that you wanted to achieve, I feel like it almost like gives it that character more with the little imperfections.
Sure.
Well, like in the time, obviously
handmade,
exactly.
like definitely had our hands in it, very unskilled hands, but that was, and I would say that was probably the hardest part. And I have to admit, when the shop was empty and the paint was done, the trim was getting done, I'm like, this is awesome. And then came the day of moving everything back in, and that's when I absolutely just lost my shit. Like, oh my gosh, dude, this is insane. I don't know how we're ever gonna finish. And we pulled a couple of like 12-hour days. I think one day I finally just had to dip out. It was decorating day, and I think my wife and son were here until like 11 o'clock at night, hanging pictures and doing stuff. And then we had to come in still the next morning super early to like finish up cleaning. And even today, like, almost 2 weeks later, I've still been hanging pictures, putting stuff back together.
Right.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's all right. So,
should we go up here and we can kind of
go into the new lobby area?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this, it just took like moving stuff around and using the space better. Even how it was in the last video, that was like, even we had changed it because the desk used to be over here. And then my wife was like, why don't we move it over there? And it's like, oh yeah, that makes way more sense. So now, just even fine tuning it even more and moving it over there, and then giving this kind of more of like a gallery wall feel, and like a rug on the floor, and a nice couch.
It's almost like where like a photographer would even come in and take like old photo. I feel like, to me, some of it feels like you're in a speakeasy. Yeah. Like a underground cocktail lounge, which I'm totally for. I love the Victorian era, and I love speakeasy. Both of that stuff mixed together. I'm totally in for it. So yeah. Awesome. And then this is going to be our new, once we're doing regular podcast stuff again, the new spot here. Well, I think this was kind of a last minute decision too. Yeah. We knew we were going to have some sort of seating over here. I'm like, why don't we just do a committed podcast spot? Yeah. Which, it's going to have chairs, but I'd even like to take it a step further and put a sign up that says Lady Liberty podcast area. Yeah. When we're not using it. Yeah. And so, got a empty bottle of mezcal over there, but a little secret, we do have a small fridge on the other side of one of these chairs where we will keep some liquor. There you go. So we can have a little sip and podcast, I also saw, just like when I was looking the other day, you added, is that more of your stuff in there? Yeah, this is old stuff. This is all inspired by Drake. Yeah, I saw that this morning. And then this is, I don't even know where these came from. I didn't know where they were. So they must have been hiding in the desk somewhere and they got discovered. But then this other one is from Norma Jean, another band, where they just repeat fight fair in the song. And I'm like, well, what kind of weaponry can I throw in there that would be totally not fighting fair? Yeah, right. Molotov cocktail, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. And then over here, you've got all these that were up here previously got moved over here, and you added a couple, right? Yeah. So a few finally found a home in the frame. And very nice. My wife was going for the cluttered look, which I'm totally dig that too. So because these do go actually in order, like in chapters and verses of the book of Revelation, and that's how we had them displayed up top before, but this time it's like, it doesn't matter. Let's just throw them up there. Yeah. And your back piece too. Yeah. That,
that was something that that's the sketch of my back piece from Brandon Holt that had just been sitting around for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
I still actually have a couple of other line drawings that I'd love to frame.
Yeah, I'm stoked that you got that up. When I saw it, or just found it in there in the desk the other day, I was like, dude, you got to hang that thing up. That's
well,
cool.
I've been finding myself the last, I don't know, however long we've been back in here tattooing. I'll just, if the person's using the bathroom, my client, I'm just looking at it, trying to like look, because I don't really get to see it, obviously, but it's just like, oh yeah, that's super cool. I love how that part ended up.
Yeah. What do you think is, like, what are you most excited about? I guess I was going to say pick a favorite, but.
I would have to say first answer would be the base trim.
Yeah.
I know it's stupid, but it's just so much better than what we had. And I guess I'm proud of it and I like it. And obviously, I mean, the floor. I walk across this floor and it doesn't like creak and pop like the other stuff does, and it doesn't sound hollow like the other stuff did. And I just feel like I don't have to worry about this. And so it's just a huge weight off.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I sincerely love it all.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to just keep adding to the walls and see what more things, trinkets and treasures we come across.
Yeah.
As we go.
Another one of my favorites is how your son's hanging of those up there.
Yeah, apparently when you jack him up on caffeine and make him stay up later than he normally does, he gets super creative.
It looks super cool.
Well, yeah, I didn't even see that, I think, until, I don't know, I saw pictures of it or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a really killer idea.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm actually pretty stoked with, I want to show behind the desk here, is like, because I went full-fledged into the other tattoo ink.
Yeah.
I did a guest spot at Ink and Dagger down in Georgia a number of years ago, and they're like, you don't have to worry about anything. We supply everything. Bring what you want.
Yeah.
And so I just had ordered a bottle of black ink to send there, and everything else was like, they had all the colors, and they just had them in different spots of the shop. So they're like community bottles, and I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
And so I just emptied out my ink drawer after I replaced all of these inks. And so I'm stoked that we've got like this community area where any of us can come and grab a bottle if we're low on a color, if we don't have that color. And then, maybe people don't know, but in professional tattoo equipment, when you buy it, there's no refunds on that stuff. Obviously because of what it is, like blood and all that. So this here is kind of like my graveyard of, these are all tattoo needles that I've bought, and for one reason or another, I keep switching, and I've landed on the ones that I like. So then now there's hundreds of community needles over here too.
Well, even just like having the inks there, like I walked by and looked at that purple, and I was like, oh, I want to draw something with, with that color. I like that.
Well, and if it saves an artist, like, well, I need that color, but either A, I don't have time to order it, or I can't order it for whatever reason. Well, chances are it's over here.
Yeah.
So, and I don't shit talk. Just kind of piggybacking what Joe Capobianco says, like, some tattooing gets better over time. So, I mean, that's going to be that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to go down a rabbit trail of like shit talking to the health department, but that's for another one.
Yeah, well, we could make a whole thing about that. I guess you kind of touched on it, and maybe it's obvious.
Yeah.
What additions or changes did you like? How did you want to enhance the client experience, I guess, with some of the changes up there? I mean, to me, it seems obvious, and it's.
I think I wanted it to feel even more, like I said, like a living room. Like it doesn't evoke this aura aura, whatever the word is, of highly antiseptic doctor's office, but more relaxed and chill. And I mean, I think we achieved it just again with kind of now it's like it is a little darker in here because of the even like the grandma style window shears, which I totally love.
I think it looks great.
You know, it just kind of warms it up a little bit. And so I think that was at least the goal. And then you know, I think just giving people a lot of things to get lost in while they're standing in here. And just thinking of, you know, details of like, well, let's do a cooler doorknob on the bathroom. Like, that looks cool. And I've had this door knocker laying around forever. I'm like, we've got to find a way to put that on the bathroom. You know, down to our toilet paper holder. It's like way cooler, way better. And it's just like, what's the client's perspective in this place?
I think that's so important. I'm not going to say where, but I got tattooed one time. And all I was staring at, like in my vision, was this like big painting of the Joker. And for some reason, it just made it so much worse because it
he was
hurt.
a little haunting you.
Yeah, it hurt so bad. And I'm like laying there, and I'm just like, I just want to go. I want to get out of here.
Yeah. Well, and that, you know, even that, like with our ceiling, even, you know, not only did we paint it, but we added things to it, and it's like when people are laying on their back and like all they have to do is look at the stupid ceiling.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that.
Let's throw a couple of other things for them to just, you know. I don't want to put clouds or giraffes in here, like in the ceiling, like in the dentist office, but let's do something.
Yeah, that's another thing I forgot to mention, the like stained glass up there, and another one of my favorite little.
And that was definitely a last minute thing. It just came up in conversation. Well, because I needed to replace some of the covers anyhow because they had been broken since we moved in, and I'm like, well, I want to see if Amazon has them, and they did, but they were cheaper locally. But then through searching that, I ran across like light covers. Like, oh, I wonder if they got any cool stuff, because it was like a bunch of giraffes, clouds and dolphins, and so that's how I found those.
Awesome.
Heck yeah, man.
I don't know about you, but I feel like for me, even just having like a little bit of a different space coming in here and drawing, it seems like different in a way, if that makes sense.
It's rejuvenating. Yeah, it's fresh.
And even the same, like moving all the art around, I'm looking at the same art pieces of artwork, but I'm looking at them completely different,
kind of a different perspective.
Things and
totally. I think that's cool, and I would agree 100%. Do you have a question on there about the little dragons?
Oh yeah.
So just to take it, and this was not me at all. This was my wife and our youngest daughter. They came in shortly. I think it was like the first day we were back open. So we were all tattooing, all busy. And my wife and daughter came in, and I just, kind of caught out of the corner of my eye, my daughter walking around, and I saw her go into the bathroom, just like look around. I'm like, oh, she must just be checking out the place. So they leave, and then I don't know, it must have been a day or two later, I saw this little thing. I'm like, what is this little dragon figure? And my wife chuckles. I'm like, oh,
she's in on
that. Yeah. This wasn't left by mistake. And so what my daughter was doing was going around and hiding them. And so there's 5 miniature dragons hidden. They're 3D little sculpture things, but they're hidden throughout the shop. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And we haven't quite figured out how to utilize that other than telling our clients. I had a client the other day. I'm like, if you can find all of them, I'll give you $10 off for each one you find. And he wandered around and he found all of them. So he got $50 off. Oh, not saying that that's what we're going to do, but
that was a one and done.
It might be.
I haven't even gone and looked for them yet. I know Nye said he found them all.
I think we all have found them. So maybe you need to find them too. But and hopefully maybe every now and again we'll move them around if we can. Once we can figure out how to use it as like a marketing thing or a hashtag thing. I don't know. But it just goes to show like there's a lot of potential in something like this, more than I even knew and even anticipated.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to uncover all that stuff and start to implement it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I know this is kind of like a shorter thing. I don't know what we're at here. A little bit shorter than typical, but I think
Definitely.
it's, give people insight on what it looks like now when they come in.
Before and after, huge change for sure.
Another thing I think we should talk about, because it'll be out before then, is the event on the 26th. So people do check it out.
Definitely. And I think that's a kind of a cool opportunity. So on the 26th of October, we're doing a Halloween flash event. First come, first serve, quite like a lot of flash events are. Myself, Nye, and Anna each drew 15. Nye took it a step further and drew 16 designs. So we're going to have like 45 different designs for people to pick from. You're going to have stuff to sell, like artwork. And so I think that's a cool day. If like, even if you can't get tattooed, just come see the shop.
Come sit on the couch.
Yeah, come sit on the couch. We'll figure out how to spin the wheel.
Yeah.
We'll figure out maybe by then how to incorporate finding these dragons. And that starts at 12 p.m. We will have, obviously, like I said, merch, things like that to sell, giveaways, prizes, raffles. And then starting at 3 o'clock that day, we've got a bunch of like costume cosplayers coming just for anybody who wants to stop and get a photo with them, or just to interact with maybe, again, those people who either do get tattooed or can't get tattooed. So we'll have like Ghostbusters, Lady Loki, Deadpool and Wolverine, and a couple of other surprises. So
cool.
We'll have temporary tattoos for little kids if parents want to bring their supervised children to get a temporary tattoo and stuff like that. And then a couple of other bars and restaurants are jumping on board with us too. And one of them is offering, if you get tattooed, you go get a free drink.
Nice.
So that's super cool. And then the other one might be doing like a discount on food and stuff. So
so I mean, obviously, even if you're not getting tattooed, definitely encouraged to come pop in, say hi, see what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. All the details for that event are currently on our Facebook page. Just search Lady Liberty Tattoo and our event will pop up. And as it gets closer, more details will come out. Obviously, we're really close. We're only like a week away. But I'll drop all and even more details the beginning of next week. So everybody will be very well informed.
Awesome. Yeah, well, this is episode 4. We have, like we were talking there earlier today, ideas for so many. It's just a time thing.
We have a ton of content to cover.
I mean, everybody's got to subscribe, like,
all
and
that good stuff.
I guess we'll just get it out as fast as we can. We all have our own stuff going on,
right?
But we'll keep it coming.
We're figuring it out, and I think now we got a dedicated place, and along with that too is like what people can begin to expect is to hear from other people, other artists. We're gonna do a podcast on what's it like being married to a tattooer. I'd like to get apprentices' viewpoints and of that and share that with the world. But then also, I think a big passion is educating the public about what to look for, the good and the bad of tattooing. Because I don't think anybody wants a bad tattoo, and sometimes people do end up with them, or just a bad experience. They get a good tattoo, but a bad experience. So just helping educate people, and that's what we hope that we also will bring forth with this podcast too. So other than just stories and tours, we want to help people through this as well.
Absolutely. And I personally encourage anybody who does listen, if they have recommendations or questions or want message either of us, email either of us.
And comment on the videos. All that good stuff. Because that helps us too. Know what you guys want to hear and learn about.
Sometimes I feel like us two ramble on about something we think is cool and people don't give a shit.
I'm turning it off.
Right.
You're right. So. Yeah, exactly. But so we hope everybody digs the new digs, and we do. So
awesome. Thank you, sir.
Hell yeah. Thank you.